Personal accountability can make a huge difference when you're trying to be better with your money, and this applies whether you need to improve your budget or become a better saver. And so much can go into this, but one of the most important ways to hold ourselves accountable is to be proactive, because it isn't always enough to say that we want to be better with this or that. We actually have to put things into motion. So today we're looking at several things that you can do to keep yourself accountable. But before jumping in, this video is sponsored by Clio, which is a money app that has your back and helps you make strong money decisions from day one, which brings us to our first point. Don't go at it alone. Being better with money involves having a clear understanding of your spending and your income, as well as having a consistent saving strategy. But trying to manage all of these at once can be overwhelming. But the good news is that it really doesn't have to be. Sometimes you can't do it alone and you need help. And if so, Clio is a sassy, no-nonsense financial assistance app that can help whip your finances into shape. But the app doesn't only help with making better decisions, it also makes the process simple and fun. Clio can review your bank account and then create a personalized budget based on what's coming in and what's going out. It also auto-categorizes your transactions, providing insight on spending habits and areas where you might need to cut back. To give you an example, I was able to see how much I've been spending on recurring payments. So likewise, you might realize that you're spending hundreds on takeout every single month. And if so, creating a budget can help reduce this significantly. Based on your spending pattern, Clio can also figure out how much you're able to save each week, and you can then opt into auto-save transfers. And one unique feature is Clio's chat box. You can use this function to be roasted or hyped based on your spending, where you're either playfully shamed for bad spending or complimented for good spending. But don't worry, it's all in fun. Bottom line is that Clio's unique tone of voice sets the app apart from other financial apps. So if you're interested, use my link in the description and download the Clio app for free. And while we're talking about assistance, get yourself an accountability partner, but not only in name, also in action. And this tip, it might not work for everyone, but if you have a relative or a friend who's good with money, meaning they're frugal, they're intentional, and they're not going to encourage you to spend, this is someone you need by your side, especially when you're shopping or you're thinking about buying something. And when it comes to your big spender friends, shopping with them might be fun. But remember, we're talking about being accountable and being proactive, and that involves acknowledging wrong types of influence. Because think about this. If you call one of them and you say, "I'm feeling the urge to spend, but I really can't afford it. I don't really need it, but I want it," chances are your big spender friends are not going to encourage you to go in the right direction, but your frugal friends might. You can also hold yourself accountable by freezing your credit card. This is something that anyone can do. It only takes a couple of minutes, and in most cases, you can freeze your card directly on the app. And this is useful in many scenarios. For example, if you misplace your card or think it's stolen, you can freeze it to prevent fraudulent transactions, which is how a lot of people use this feature. However, this function is also great for spending breaks or if you tend to go overboard with credit cards. But I have to say, this particular tip isn't entirely foolproof because you can always log into your app and unfreeze the card at any time. However, I still recommend this tip because a frozen credit card, it can slow you down. Because when you're in a store, you can't just whip it out and pay for something. You would first have to go into your app, you have to unfreeze it, and that might be enough time to really rethink the purchase and consider whether you actually need to buy that item. You can also go a step further and actually block certain websites. Whether you're on your phone or your computer, you can go into your privacy settings and block websites by manually typing in certain web addresses. And this is a great feature if you have a problem with online shopping at specific retailers, because once a site has been blocked, you would have to go back into your settings and unblock it before you're able to buy there. And again, this tip isn't completely foolproof, but just like freezing a credit card, it can slow you down and give you time to rethink a purchase. Now, if you really have a problem, you might block the website and then have someone you trust set a passcode, in which case you would have to enter this code before you're able to access the site in the future. And yes, I know that is a bit extreme, but if you have a serious problem with online shopping, making headway might require some extreme measures. Also, you can ask yourself an important question. If no one ever saw this item, would you still want it? And I've mentioned this tip on other videos in the past, but in case you missed it or you forgot, this is another great way to hold yourself accountable, and it also helps you really think about the intent behind a purchase. Because let's be honest, some people buy stuff to impress others, And unfortunately, they get caught in a vicious cycle where they continually buy stuff that they don't need or that they can't afford because they want to keep up with their friends or maintain a certain image. And sometimes this is at the expense of their finances. So, from time to time, it really doesn't hurt to do a little self-reflection. And before buying anything, make sure you're doing it for yourself and not others. And part of self-reflection or self-awareness is recognizing things that break your budget or make it harder to save money. And we've already talked about stuff like credit card debt and online shopping, but of course, those are not the only things that can put you in a hole. So think about your most recent impulse buys and then think about why you made these purchases. For example, were you browsing or window shopping? For some people, that's a problem. Or did you leave the house hungry? This is something to consider if you're spending too much on takeout. And if so, make sure you eat before you run errands or before you leave the house to help curb spending in this area. And for some people, carrying cash might be a problem. They might not be quick to use a debit or credit card when they're out, but they'll quickly burn through the cash in their wallet. So if that sounds like you, it might help to limit how much cash you carry. Because being accountable with money is about understanding yourself and your triggers and then creating a few obstacles. Also, stop making your savings so accessible. Now, I do believe in having money on hand for immediate access, meaning you can drive to a local ATM and pull out cash when you need it. For this, I suggest keeping a small rainy day fund in your local bank. But for the majority of your savings account, don't keep this money too accessible, especially if you have a habit of tapping your emergency fund for non-emergencies. One thing I always recommend is keeping the majority of your cash in an online high-yield savings account. And I recommend this for two reasons. Number one, most of these accounts do not come with an ATM card. So in order to get your money, you must transfer funds from your online account to an offline account, which can sometimes take up to 2 days. So because there's a little delay, that can help curb a lot of needless withdrawals. And the second reason is because online high-yield savings accounts, they earn a better rate compared to a regular savings. So not only is your money less accessible, but you're also earning more on your balance. That's all that I have for you guys today. Don't forget to like, comment, and share, and also subscribe if you like personal finance and you want to see more videos like this. I typically post every weekend, so thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in a few days.